Hello, welcome to Chickencrossroad versus VariantsOnly for 2020 Crazy House World Championship. It's gonna be 10 games today. No tiebreakers if it's a tie, since this is a candidate stage, and all the players will play 11 matches, and at the end, the one with the most points is awarded the chance to play for the title versus Operawazen. Okay, as always, I'm running on a slight delay, so might be a bit late in answering your questions or your comments, but I'll try to address them. For both players, this is their first match. The idea is that everyone plays a match per week, so hopefully everybody will try to compete and get their matches in time. Okay, let's talk a bit about the game. We had a quick bishop b5 and sacrifice of pawn by VariantsOnly, and chicken going for d4. Let me see. Yes, e5. I think pawn at g5 maybe, but d4 is also fine, I guess. I think maybe pawn at g5 is critical, but I'm not entirely sure. Luckily we have Kadask in the game chat, who knows a lot of stuff about lines. As I say it, he says he didn't look at it for a while, but and I'm looking from VariantsOnly's perspective, while Jamarlo is in the chat rooting for chicken. I'm of course a bit rooting for VariantsOnly out of patriotism. I can ask, because we are both from the Netherlands. I think d4 is not best, but VariantsOnly probably knows this lines better than chickencrossroad, and chickencrossroad would like to get VariantsOnly out of book or out of theoretical moves. And although previously I would say that VariantsOnly is also not very booked up, I think he has a great memory, so he's learning fast. Knight d5 to look at the bishop and to look at g2. Bishop back, maybe he's thinking to go pawn e3, but the bishop is going forward, and if you try to play e6 you just take the pawn. So now he has to go all in. Take here is a possibility because f2 might be open, but bishop takes g7 is also bishop takes g7. There might be some rook g8, queen d5, knight at f6 ideas. So the g7 square is really weak, but chicken going for knight takes c3, and now I was thinking maybe he could go bishop takes f2, knight takes c3, but might have been too risky, allowing queen trade and a sack on c7, and probably too much. So he went pawn d3. He wants to break open another way, and maybe he wants to play the bishop to e3 and then play pawn at d2 to close off this. Okay, he just goes pawn at f2. He wants to take this with check, and if you go here, knight takes e3 is really good. And now probably he'll try pawn at h3. He's going defensive. But now you just allow bishop g3 if needed. And white is just using his pawns. You can trade this one, but then that's it. Because if you try to trade queens, the bishop is covering really nicely here on f2. Because the chicken now in bit of time trouble come in, but he can just play pawn at f2, yes. And then he can try to trade this piece, go knight at h5, but black's initiative is gone for a bit. Mainly because his bank is just empty. Okay, so how would you go about this position? If you want to play it a bit slower, you could maybe play h4 to not allow any pawn at h3. Yeah, there we go, h4. So pawn at h3 is now no longer an issue. Since there's no knight on f4 or h4 and pawn at h3 is just taken. But f2 is now a bit of a problem, but even now pawn at e3 at some stage should be fine. He can just dump the pawns in front of his king if he wants. Okay, h5, bishop takes f2. And now you go back, yeah. Still not a lot of material. You would like to try to take this knight, but you don't have any pawns to attack it. So bishop a6, pawn at d3. Seems good. Trading is helping black. So pawn at d3 played. And now if you want to be really aggressive, you can take, but yeah, now he tries to go in, create stuff around the black king, and now black has to be careful. He cannot only attack, but he tries to go here maybe. Ooh, knight here. The king can run here. So I think you can safely take h7 next. Oh, his time though. Running really low. Okay, king c1 is safe. Now d4. I thought d4 preserved the bishop in hand. Because now the king on b1 is the king is on b1, and you can play knight at b3, for example, if you really need to. Okay, so I didn't like how he did that, but now chicken should be really in the driver's seat. He can take the queen even, and now it's over. Because there's no knight here, there's no rook at b2, and now the pieces from chicken crossroad are dropping everywhere. Rook at e6, queen takes his mate. Yeah, he finds it. You can count on chicken to find the quickest mate fast. But I feel like if he didn't play bishop at a5, but something else there, not sack the rook. Okay, we have chicken played this against me as well, but I find, yeah, I think VariantsOnly looked at this game. He played knight f6 here. You play pawn g5, and white is just better. Yeah, he looked at this game for sure. This is just good for white, because I had to play chicken crossroad in the tournament as well. And there are basically three options that are somewhat viable. Knight d7, d5, so a knight g8, that's just ugly. And chicken taking a big thing here. Don't know if VariantsOnly just remembers this or he also looked at what happens after the... And castles here was an option. There's also some lines where you play pawn at f6 first. Try to create weaknesses, but castles is probably, well, fine. And maybe go rook e1. Problem is also that there might be some bishop takes c6, knight at h5, and that's why you can play pawn at f6 and allow this taking, and then you can take the knight and play knight at g7 and break open the position very easily. Okay, so pawn at d5, fortifying the knight. I still think you should try this idea. Pawn at f6, takes, knight at g7, king here. Then take the pawn maybe. Something like that could be interesting. Hey, PN 2020 2206, thanks for the follow. But pawn at d3, and now black has to sack the knight or cover it again, but it has nowhere to go. And of course he's going to sack it, and now you can try maybe for pawn at g4 later, or something at g3. And this just looks good for white. Basically knight at h5 is coming to come here. Black can try here something. Chicken crossroad looking for pawn at g3, obviously. But knight at h5 was helping against that. If you really wanted to, you could also just go back. But he goes knight at e5. What is this? Yasugi wants to sack the rook, and I think that's reasonable, because then you only give a rook in hand. And if takes, the knight is still covering g4, but king of 1 is also possible, but rook takes c3 is perfectly safe, I feel. And then you can try to because now the bishop comes to f4 and then can take g5, and that's why you go for rook takes first. But maybe VariantsOnly seen something. Okay, so we got a trade, we got bishop at f4, and now we have a problem here. If the knight gets removed, there can be a knight at g4 drop. Hey Chuck. And then you have to you can move the rook, bishop takes, rook takes, knight at g4, you can take it. So it's not immediately the knight at g4 threat, but h2 is also hanging, and that's also really annoying to deal with. You could also just play queen takes g5 here, maybe. Because now you threaten to take, sack the queen, go knight at f5, maybe even in some lines. Then drop a bishop on e2, on e3. Ooh, now I feel maybe knight at h1 ideas. Leaving the back rank is also always a bit scary. You can also just take here and go knight g4. I mean, white still has some chances of messing black's position up. It's not like black is winning by force or something. He's looking at knight at h1. If you take now knight at h1, so the king probably moves. This is really nice. Because the king moves here, knight at h2. And if the king moves here, knight at g1. And the king cannot move here. If the king goes here, I guess pawn at h2 and knight at f2 win the queen. So he had to give up the queen, and now queen at f1 takes the pawn here. First pawn here and then takes. I felt the king now can run to c3. I feel like it was not necessary to allow this, but it's probably still really strong. Two knights not mating though. Nice. Sack the queen for the bishop, and then knight at a5, knight at b6. Variants only 2-0 down. Chicken takes the first two games. Yeah, I felt like Variants only missed the critical idea of breaking over g7 earlier. Okay, so this is also some known thing where you go after the b2 c3 combination. And here, if you take with the queen, black takes here, and then you think, okay, I'll sack my knight, but then the queen comes to c7, and then I'll save my rook. But then you open bishop at c3, so that's the problem with this line. So therefore, knight takes d2, I guess, played by Chicken. So now he can take on c7 since there's no bishop at c3. Okay, so knight b5. You cannot take on the rook. That's just too risky. So you have to move the queen or cover it if you really want to sacrifice it. So where to go? I wouldn't go to a dark square because of the bishop coming to d6 or the pawn to c7. Hey BFRL, I'm not streaming on YouTube too. I'm just using Twitch. And I'm putting my streams on YouTube afterwards most of the time. So where do you move your queen? Probably to c6 or d7. Ooh. So looking briefly, I was thinking maybe pawn at h3, but I think bishop f3 is just fine. So nothing there. He's going pawn at c3, dislodging the knights. If it moves, you have queen e4 as a check if your queen is attacked. And there also might be an idea of bishop at d2 later. Okay, so the knight is covered by the discovered check. So I guess castles. Now the knight isn't covered anymore. Knight e5 doesn't work because of queen e4. So chicken crossroad quickly takes away the pawn from c3 creating threats here on d2. Smart call. But black, although materially I think he's down a pawn, but he has some initiative here. And now you see the development here is a bit behind. So if he takes time to develop these pieces, white will also have time to put pieces on the board, uses extra pawns. The idea is here that if white does nothing, you can take, and you take with the knights. But I think white can, even if he wants, can take, block. Block with a pawn maybe, and then play bishop at d3. But he can also counterattack. Since there is no piece helping the black king, but except the rook. Okay, but chicken going for my idea. Because bishop at d3 or f3 is just a really annoying move, and the queen is also here on e4. So if you can try to break open the h6 square, you get knight at f6 as a threat. So let's say if it was white's move here, white would probably play pawn at h6. Or bishop at d3, but pawn at h6 first looks nice. Maybe still it's a viable move. Knight takes g2, probably a bit too much to allow. Chicken feels the same way, just goes pawn at f3. Knight at f4 is now logical. Also g3 might have been possible since there's nothing in hand. But I guess then bishop takes d2. But now he's just taking the pawn, so he's getting some extra pieces. VariantsOnly finally developing. But chicken has a really nice pawn clump around this king to keep him safe. Pushes back the bishop, even more safety. And it's not so easy to convert this, but his king is just so safe, and he has some piece play ideas with knight e5 and bishop d3. So it's not like he's that clumped. And also you can push the e4 or g4 at some stage. VariantsOnly not waiting for that, and he's sacking on d4 to gain something in hand to play with, but now his queen is trapped. If you really want to. Okay, you can take, you could also go here, allow queen h3. Queen at a1, not so worried about that. Queen at c1 is fine. So maybe you have to start with pawn at a3, then rook b1. And now black will just go knight g5 or something, or pawn at h6. I think knight takes f3 is his idea. I don't know for sure. It's not really a strong idea, but he might be looking into some cheapos there. Yeah, this is just made queen g7, queen f7. Okay, 3-0. variants only, not yet on the board. Let's see if he repeats lines. Chicken immediately not going for the same, but just playing the Scandinavian defense with e4, d5. And I like to play this myself as well, b4. It's a chess move. You get development with the rook, you get an open b file to work with. But we won't see how variants only will play it, since chicken is not accepting. c6, knight d5, queen d8, pawn at c7, queen takes d5. Could be a line, but that's just good for white, I feel. So if you wanna, and even pawn at c6, same idea, knight d5. That's the idea about this move. So pawn at d7 looks really passive, knight d5, but then you have queen d6, so then the knight d5 idea is not so strong anymore, or at least not winning the queen. This is common that you sack the bishop here to get this. And just to go a bit slower, since chicken is thinking, c6, knight d5. If you take, there's still knight c7, but I thought you could go here, queen c8, then you play pawn at c7, then the queen takes the knight, then you promote the queen, and then you have a new knight in hand that you can put on c7. So there's still fork then. So he decided to sacrifice the queen, and he figured out this was the best way to do it. Knight d4, pawn at c7 or something like that is just not enough, so he needs more. And now pawn at c7 might be viable. And also if the bishop moves, let's say here, queen at c8 is good. And if you try, for example, bishop at d7, trading, and then there's a new bishop in hand. So bishop moves back to d7. Black's strategic plan here is just to keep his pieces in hand and not allow trades before he gets some king safety. Super Chess Pro, thanks for the follow. But I feel that if Variants only plays this accurately, he should be winning. I thought maybe pawn at c7, knight a6 was played then, I guess. So queen at c7, winning a pawn basically. Covering this one, and if you take here, he will take on g7 and try to, or g2 I mean, try to create chances there. Nice suggestion by Jasugi. He wanted knight at d8. Would be logical to cover b7, but then you take the knight here and play knight at c7 to mate. Would still maybe be an option. Probably allowing queen at e4 is a bit too much. Queen takes, knight c7 takes. What did he see here? Because now you have to look out for knight at f3. Knight d6. But I guess e6 now. If knight f3 now, you just go to d1 and should be fine. Okay, so knight f3 is no longer an issue. Variants only should be able to win this game, looking at the time situation, but not that easy. This, for example, queen takes c6, bishop h1, rook at g1 is going to be a really big problem. So rook g1 played to save the piece. Pawn at f3, then the queen can move. Okay, now you can take the rook. Pawn here might be possible. Rook at b8. Trade a bunch of pieces and then go knight takes c7. But yeah, this is just completely winning for white, but he has to be careful about tricks like this. Take here, then you have knight at b7. Okay, he takes f7. Knight f6, free developing move, you could say. Take with bishop, then bishop at b2, bishop takes f6 might be his plan. Because that would allow rook at e8. Ah, there we go, rook at e8. Bishop b8, nice move. To create enough threats for chicken crossroads to go wrong in time trouble. Okay, we go again, the same line. Variants only takes 1, so 3-1. And just a reminder, it's 10 games, so 6 more to go. Last game, what did he play? He played a takes b2 very quickly. And then we had knight takes c7, so probably he's thinking, do I need to improve here or do I need to improve along the line? And I think a takes b2, knight takes c7, knight at b5 was just too much to handle for him. But we'll see it again. No reason for chicken crossroad to deviate from knight at b5. That's the thing about these matches. You might know that knight at b5 is not the move, but okay, he goes queen f4, but I thought bishop at g3 was really annoying. Just any dark square seemed bad. You can see Kadask asking in the game chat if this was first, but Mugwort already played against Master 10, 6-4. And Yasugi beats Art of Deception 8-2. So this is the third match of the candidates. Third of 66, if I'm not mistaken. So what's wrong with bishop at g3? What am I missing? Okay, he goes bishop at e3. And maybe there was an issue with taking here and then sacking a queen or something. Okay, we'll see. Maybe queen f4 was better than expected, since there's still a rook hanging. Okay, so the obvious starting move is pawn at f2, then knight at g4, king e2, king d1. Then you can go here. So don't take the pawn too lightly. You can try bishop a6 here. Problem is if you go rook f2, he just plays king a1. So bishop a6 is nice because you get more attacking pieces. And now you're, for example, threatening to take, and then you have some knight at f4 ideas. Knight at f4 takes, rook at f2. I spotted this, rook at e3, I mean king d1, knight f2. Whoa, sorry about this. So let's go again. If black has a knight at f4, takes, rook at e3, king d1, knight f2, king c1, bishop at a3, blocks, rook e1, blocks, takes d1, mate. So that's just one example of what chicken has to look at, defensively speaking. And you, of course, you don't have to take, you can move. But this is just a sample line. Yeah, Joe Marlowe, a lot of good matches, a lot of good crazy hands to look at. Okay, maybe we're going to see it's take the knight, it's free. Okay, knight at f4. Oh, it would be really nice to see this line on the board. Knight at 4 takes, rook at e3 is forced mate, I feel. So, knight at 4 not taking, what is the other option? King d1, knight takes e3 is probably good. King f3, rook f2. That might be saving. Knight f4, king f3. What then? Rook f2, king takes. Maybe not so good. Okay, he goes bishop a5 to cover against the mates. I was too focused maybe on knight at 4 working. I guess king f3 is... I don't know. I probably would have played it. Hey Aldebarva, I'll give you a link to the calendar. It's updated very regularly when a new match is scheduled. Yeah, no worries. What just happens if queen c3? You cannot take here to try to trick him because queen at a5 is just pretty convincingly mates. Even now you can take the bishop. Maybe not wise, but chicken just goes for it. If you take here, this one hangs with check. Now you can take here. You can also take this one, but you can also take here, I feel. But maybe allowing knight takes e2 is a bit too risky, but this is just fine because you're threatening queen at f8 with probably mates. Okay, this is better. Nice play by chickencrossroad. Maybe we'll see in the maybe someone can check with the computer if knight at f4 was better, or if VariantsOnly missed something there. Okay, so 4-1. Let's see. VariantsOnly taking a break to think. Do I go again for e4, d5, or do I switch to d4? Or do I get crazy and play a4? VariantsOnly is a bit known to play it like this sometimes for fun, but also getting good results with it. Okay, so we got an e4 game, but chicken not going for d5 again. Probably felt like this last game was getting a bit out of hand. And we have knight g5, no d5 by chickencrossroad, no quick d5, no quick d4 by VariantsOnly, just both setting up. And this is highly theoretically, I feel, knight d4, bishop e3, queen e8, yeah. I've messed up the Kadask, just showing quickly that knight b5 is best here. I messed up this move order as well a couple of times, because then you go after c7 and there are some very strong sacrificing lines. Knight takes c7 is not bad immediately. It creates some ideas of queen h5 later on. Yeah, Jamarlo, it's not that bad objectively. Probably it is, but it looks fun to play, and you need to have fun while playing, of course. That's important. And also the rook is not that much better than the minor pieces. Well, you could even argue that the bishop is better than a rook in Crazy House. Okay, so let's state something obvious. If you go bishop g4, you can even take here probably, but there's also queen takes g4 and bishop at f5, picking up 2 pieces. Looks good for white. So just king back and take the piece. And now there has been a trade of pieces, but the black bishop looks okay actually on f6. But this hole on h7 is probably not helping black, actually helping white. And even this bishop is also looking at the king. So this looks nice for white. Queen back to cover c7 and to cover f6, logical. Now I wonder if queen h5 is an option. Because there are some lines with pawn g6, takes, knight at f6, that all looks really ugly. Yeah, the rover, that's this a4, rook a3, rook anywhere. It's an abbreviation of rook over. Really way too bad. And something popularized by, for example, VariantsOnly. Okay, so king h1. I don't know. King h1. Really safe. Maybe he just wants to improve his position, but I felt like maybe trading, going bishop g5 looked good as well. But I guess he wants to play rook g1 or something. And get his king safe on g2, cover the f2 square, and then so bishop e6, logical move again. Yeah, Midnight Fox, the rover is strong in Crazy House. As Upper Wazen explained, he wanted knight at g5, and if you take twice, there's knight at h3 and knight at f3 with the king on g1, picking up the queen. And now that's not possible. So takes, bishop takes, you cannot sack the queen. Or you can, but it's not as good. Yeah, takes h7, pawn g5 next. Bishop g4, knight takes f6, something like that. But the variant only has the luxury to think here for a couple of seconds, while chicken has to almost impromptu move next. So bishop g4, knight takes f6, yeah. It's basically a queen trade. You can always also take this one in between. He takes here. Nice. Because now you have knight at f6, knight at g5, all kinds of threats. Well done by VariantsOnly. He's taking this game for sure. Bit messy, allowing pawn at f3. I guess you can go knight at g5. Queen takes, 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 takes. And then move the king to g3, take the bishop. Or no, not even knight at g5, just take the queen and take. But he did good and he checked it. Alright, VariantsOnly. Taking the last two white games, that's good. Let's see if he can do something with black here. And if he wins this black game, he's basically back in the match. Okay, switching to e6. And here, it's always a bit tricky how to block. If you, for example, go knight c6, there's knight e5 quickly being annoying. Pawn at a6 is something you have to worry about. Even a slower idea, knight c3, queen takes d5, and knight at c3 is possible. But knight e5 just really aggressive. I think it's really hard to give up a lot of pieces, but maybe it's bishop d6 is actually good. But I'm not sure. Or knight f4 first. Midnight Fox, this is the first candidates match, and there are 12 candidates, and the winner of those 12 gets to play Upper Wazen for the Crazy House World Championship title. And it's for first game, a first match. So Chicken has four game points and VariantsOnly has 2 game points. Okay, so bishop d7. Yeah, queen takes, take, knight d5, for example, already looks good for Chicken. Yeah, Jan Lee decided not to play BFRL, so he has 2 kids these days, and he has, of course, still love for the game, so he is organizing this, but he just decided to devote his energy to organizing, and when he's available, streaming and commentating, as he did already a couple of times. And he's just organizing and also guaranteeing prize money for this tournament. So yeah, some you could say it's not World Championship if Jan Lee isn't playing, or if the world best players aren't playing, but that's just the title we're going with. Knight takes c3, b takes c3, knight takes d7. There was a queen trade or a pawn at e2. I don't know. I think he's just decided to go for this. So yeah, not so easy here. Your d4 probably needs to be played, but then queen takes d2 is not so easy. What are you going to do? Bishop at f3, then you sack the queen for the rook and play rook at g1. And you don't have anything forcing knight at c8. The king can just go back to d8. Okay, so it goes queen e2, and now he might have some ideas of knight takes c6 later. And also funny idea maybe is bishop a3 and castle. But probably it's going to be too slow if queen takes d2. VariantsOnly trying to figure something out here. How to deal with this. Knight at f4 looks okay. Pawn at d3 was suggested to go knight at c2. So bishop a3 plays. At least the rooks are being connected. You could try knight at c8, king d8, bishop at a5. That's taken. And then knight takes c6 or something. Not sure. Really, it's only 15 moves and the board is on fire. No positional grindings here. Okay, he's preserved the bishop to block if rook at g1, so he doesn't have to give up the queen. And this is made in 2. Oh, he's being really brave. He's going to f6. But I don't know if it will work. Or he just missed queen at e8. That's also a possibility. Promote. You can take here, queen h5, something. Jasugi is calling it. Bishop at g5 and the queen comes into the game. This is helping. This makes it more easy. It's not mate, by the way. I was wrong. This is mate. The bishop cannot move. Alright, good game by Chicken. And also by VariantsOnly. He almost got there, and I feel he misplayed the opening a bit, but after that he had some really nice ideas. Alright, so we see d4 now. by variants only. Just knight f3, bishop g5. Sort of safe setup. The idea is just to go like this. I can also put the bishop here. Move this knight somewhere. Push the f pawn. And there are some subtleties in move order here, but I'm not that familiar with those. Bishop d3, and now maybe take knight d4. It's a good move order for black, but we can just think that, and maybe maybe if it's wrong we can do something otherwise. But chicken, of course, he has to know for sure, because there are some ideas to watch out for, allowing a knight at g7, for example, after takes and knight at e4, bishop takes f6 ideas. Yes, chicken is really strong indeed, Jamarlo, but I'm not sure if he is strong enough to win the entire tournament. But I think he's going to get top 3. So now you can try take and bishop and pawn here, and if queen b5 you can just play bishop at c6. Yeah, it's hard to pick favorites. And also I myself are picking Yasugi to be the winner. But he could, if he loses 1 or 2 matches or doesn't get enough match points, game points, it just could be problematic. Again, very nice game by Chicken, straight out of the opening here. You could take and then go for knight g6 or something. Now he's not immediately taking back with the queen, which you would do in chess, because then you have bishop at e4 to be worried about. And maybe he's just saying, okay, I'm going to take with the pawn, put the bishop here, put my bishop on g2, or play, if you give me more time, play king h1, rook g1. Because not that easy to create traits with this structure being a bit. So now pawn g2. Okay, bishop at g4. He's defending in the front and not in the back. But now this is annoying, so you have to be worried. So now pawn g2 anyway. But if Chicken wants to, he can now try f5. But he's just trading. And now it seems like a variants only setup 1. Yeah, but Upper is not in the candidates BFRL, so Upper is just waiting for one of these guys to challenge him. So therefore, Yasugi probably is favorite. Okay, taking, sacking the queen, going king h1. Knight g5, bishop g2. There's no pawn in hand. You can even go f4 next if you want. White looks really strong here. So bishop at h5. You have to be. You can try. You can give up a couple of pieces to trade, but you have to be concerned not to give too many. Pawn at g2, knight at h4, for example. If you give a lot of pieces. So therefore I like just going safe first, bishop g2, f3 even if you want. Okay, he's going there now. And he has a minute more, so that's nice. Hey, Chessbori, thanks for following. Takes, he gets go to knight h5, knight h6 is now threatened, so you don't even have time to go here after the f3 square. That's just takes for free basically. Go back if you want to. Take f5, also possible. Take f5, go bishop f5. Or pawn f5. But going back is very reasonable. f3. And this was always a good move. And now he gets to play it. You could try knight e5, takes, knight e7 takes. It's also covering f3, so that's nice. Okay, now you have to be a bit careful. Because there were some tricks. Queen takes g2, rook takes g3 was a really nasty one. Okay, now it's no longer possible. Queen takes g2. He had no time to calculate it. It was check as well. Okay, never mind. So we had to go here. Yeah, he does, Jamarlo. Chicken relying on the increments a couple of games, but he's just so strong, not making that many bad moves in time trouble. Bishop at c5, also possible. He's lacking material. Oh, and he's going to lose this one as well, I feel. Chicken just taking his time if rook at f1 was something. But now entrance is going to be a knight at d2 was also fine, I feel, but at some stage this is just winning. Queen e4 mates. Well done. But VariantsOnly missed his chances this game, for sure. There we go. VariantsOnly, maybe not tilting, but at least the rover. He's going to play rook a6. And if you take it's objectively probably just best, but this is the idea that you put the rook here. And I like to play against rover guys like this as well, h4. And now if h4 and e5, bishop d3, it's much more attractive to take the rook because there's no hg takes g6. Or knight takes g6 in this case. And actually, this could go to VariantsOnly because he's played this line of this stuff a lot of times before. He's not using any that much time. And as the other player, you just want to prove that it's that's a bad opening, a bad way to play. So you will burn time. You will think, and maybe you make a mistake somewhere. Yeah, maybe Sleipnir saying these games are always amazing, even if not theoretically sound or by the computer standards. But that's totally true. And even theoretically, theory is not at all developed. It's just some 7-8 moves people have played before, and that's being called theory. Okay, so you would like to go d6 here, but then probably this is really good. Bishop takes d6, pawn at f6, so the knight fortifying f6. Helping out. Yeah, he was probably thinking about rook takes f2, but not wise to go there, I felt. Okay, now chicken has to decide if he wants all in with something, or he wants to trade with pawn at f6, or he wants all in with e5. Or even something crazy like queen f3. Okay, he's going rook f3. Probably most sound, as chicken is really playing some strong crazy house today. Okay, he was lost last game, but overall he's playing really well. And the point is that if you go here, this is helping, or either way, it's helping white. And a capture usually should help yourself. Okay, so he wants rook b1 takes, and then takes f2. I guess that's what he wants. But he has to worry about stuff on h6 or f6 still. Yeah, it's true with Jamarlo, with all the drops, and also just the game is not as popular as chess. There's just not that many theories, so it makes the game enjoyable. Okay, take on c3 first, make him use a blocker. Now you can take the rook. Or take d4. Take rook e5, go back. He can take a pawn, but that's not it, I feel. Okay, but he's not taking the rook. Okay, probably, maybe scared of queen f3 or something. That's something to be scared of, okay. Queen f3 was the move, I guess. Yeah, queen takes g4, Ganesh, I thought as well. At some stage. Looked nice, but chicken didn't go for it. Okay, now you could take on a1 maybe. And then take this. Ooh, but d5. I like d5 and then bishop at g5. But okay, he's going after c7. At e3 takes. Bishop at g3 was maybe an idea. But now you can take. And now you don't have anything left, I feel. Knight at g4, just move the king back. But chicken, no, this is a sack. That looks nice. Maybe go knight at g4 first and then sack. This is winning for black, I feel. Because king here, rook at e3. Yeah, and this is sort of same motif as we saw in my analysis from previous game. Okay, so VariantsOnly winning with the rover. Rover hype indeed, Gianmarlo. Okay, but he's not going a4. That would have been too much. Probably he would just like to say, I won with the rover. And that's it. Okay, last game. Beforehand I predicted 7-3, so we'll see if it will become 7-3 or if VariantsOnly goes 6-4. After going 3-0 down, that would be really nice. Okay, bishop c5, old. This is the oldest line, oldest crazy house stuff played. And with the bishop here or here, again knight g5 is a strong move. I think you have to go knight d4. And now bishop e3 and then queen e8 and then knight b5 or something. And then take on d4 and then knight b5, something like that. This has been played many times before. But again, he goes for the knight takes h7 idea. And again, pawn at g5, and now there's no bishop on e7 defending the knights. And Chicken has played knight d4, so the idea of sacking your queen and going bishop at f5 is not working right now. So you have to be brave and take here. Bishop takes d1, knight at g5. King g8. Looks good for white. This okay, he's allowing this with check. But in allowing it, if he goes there might be some queen takes g5 and knight at h3 ideas for black. So maybe it's setting a trap. Pawn at h6, king g6. And now, if rook takes d1, I believe queen takes g5 is really strong. Queen takes g5, bishop takes g5 is just game over. So what is VariantsOnly seeing after queen takes g5? Bishop at f5? I don't know. Because there's this classic mating pattern with knight at h3 and knight at f3. And in this case it's even easier than in some other cases because you have two knights here. So queen takes g5, bishop f5, you can just take with the knight even. And then pawn takes with the queen. And there's not a lot of material left. Okay, but he goes bishop takes g5 immediately. Okay, there was 8 takes f5 and then knight at h4 maybe, but this is game over. because the bishop is also looking at f2, so you cannot run here because queen takes f2. Okay, chicken crossroad. Takes it, 7-3. Bit sloppy this. And Variants Only already in the chat saying that's game over. Maybe he had something else here with bishop at f5, knight takes, e takes. In this position, knight takes, e takes. Queen takes, whoa. Knight at h4, I guess. Is the idea. Whoa, messing up my lines. That probably must be the idea. Okay, so 7-3, chicken crossroad variants only. I haven't looked at the forums or anything, but I don't know if there's already a cross table. But you will see some cross table very soon, I believe. And also, organizer of this tournament, Jan Lee, has said that he will give you a video with introduction on all the players. So we're also looking forward to that one. And we just have a lot of crazies to be played still. Next match is Wednesday night from Amsterdam time, and then Thursday in the evening is Juanet versus the Finisher. Wednesday is Bugzilla versus GCC, and Friday we have King Switcher versus Penguin. So all matches scheduled. Everyone onto a good start. For now, I'm going to leave you and get out of my very hot room, and hopefully I'll see you next time, guys. Have a good one.